Hello. Let me do this real quick. I have a little bit of time to burn, so I wanted to make this video while I have some time. Anyways, like the title suggests, we're going to go over quickly why I think The Timeless Child is a little bit better than most people think. So originally, this was just to kind of say, hey, the Doctor has had lives. There's stories we can tell before William Hartnell. There's stories we can tell forever because we don't know how long the generations can last. We don't know how many they have. Um, but anyways, let's get into it. What does the Timeless Child really say about the Doctor? What does it do for classic and modern Who? All right. So I think it kind of says, and it kind of shows who the Doctor is, and it kind of gives an understanding of why the Doctor is. So we did get to meet I think it's the Rebel Doctor. I forgot who she's played by, but it's a doctor who did the Fog Watch thing, and this is supposed to be a pre-Hartnell Doctor. And before anyone's like, hey, but still, it's still a dumb concept. The concept isn't really that far fetched because, like, you can look up, like, right now, is Doctor Who's lore on point or something, and there are several points that suggest that Timeless Child has always been a backbone that just doesn't get touched upon in classic Who. Like when the Fourth Doctor's like mind is getting scanned, you can see several faces that we've never seen even to this point. And there's also, suggested Doctor faces from Patrick Troughton. There was, I believe, someone was supposed to play the Eighth Doctor, but then basically someone was announced to be the Doctor Who. They had a car made, and that person was scripted to become the new Doctor Who, but then Doctor Who got cancelled, and Paul McGann became the new Doctor Who. Which, that makes history, but that it suggested that that Doctor still exists in the timeline. And it might be as a Patrick Troughton before pre-Hartnell. And then there's also, I don't know if it's the same Doctor, but there's another Doctor who's an animated one who still is the Doctor. So there is several evidence before Jodie Whittaker's era that suggests that there has been more Doctors than just Hartnell. It also gives the whole reason why the Doctor is so important. The whole reason why the Doctor is so important is never said. It's just, this is some weird Califrayan Time Lord who has a higher morals than the other Gallifreyans, and better of a person than any other Time Lord. Like, he is kind of got that higher up thing going about him. He's a little ego boosted by it for a while. But David Tennant himself, kind of during the end of time, shows that he just hates the idea of the Time Lords existing because they make it to where they're still cruel to other beings. And it's just making him an outcast and making it the reason that for his outcast is just he's never been a Gallifreyan. And then it also explains a little bit of their backstory. We get to meet Tecteun in the Flux, which is technically the mother of the Doctor. And also this kind of would explain, there's a lot of, like, you could technically go and have, what's his name? David Bradley, I think it is. The one who played Hartnell in Twice Upon a Time. You could use him to explain that he just never remembers where half the stuff comes in, because we know he has a granddaughter, and that he's ran away and was a part of the academy and stuff, and was kind of like a scientist for them. we never seen anything before that, and it could basically be set that the Doctor just doesn't remember anything because it looks like young Hartnell had his mind erased, and now we are dealing with a Doctor who doesn't remember his previous lives, what he was doing, and it resets his learning curve. Like, he's still got the personality that he does, but he still, like, throughout all the Doctors, he starts gaining back that personality. And the Rebel Doctor kind of explains it. That's very Peter Capaldi. Like, that shouts Peter Capaldi to me, what they were doing. Just like, hey, I'm the Doctor. Deal with it. But it's like, what does it mean if, say, young Hartnell was the one that got regenerated into and then forgot everything that happened before? Because this is what I explained why we haven't learned about the wife or husband of the Doctor, the children, and then the only thing we know about Susan, who are her parents. It'd be nice to finally figure out where, the rest of the family is and who the rest of the family is. And it can very much be that young Hartnell was the first regeneration after the fact, and now we're just left with Susan. But anyways, there's that point. So it's just like, think of an old man that has almost nothing going for him else than being this sit and do nothing kind of Time Lord / Gallifreyan, and the only reason is, like, we don't even know what makes a Time Lord. And the weird thing is, if the rest of the board of Time Lords don't like the idea of the Doctor being a Time Lord, why would in the original series he have been given regenerations? Like you are given regenerations. Because Gallifreyans don't have regeneration, but Time Lords do. So if you're just going off of the fact that Timeless Child doesn't exist, but the Doctor is still somehow a Time Lord, but most of the Gallifreyans don't like him, then why would he be a Time Lord? They wouldn't make him a Time Lord. So I think it's just, he's always meant to have the regenerations by nature. So anyways, let's get into the personality. So let's say young Hartnell forgets about anything previous. He's just old man that's got nothing to do. He's always wanted to adventure, and it's just sitting there, and eventually he takes a TARDIS and goes. Which has always been the point. Which is another thing is, if the Doctor ran away with the TARDIS before, now we have another TARDIS that is just set up for them. Which kind of sets the point of just like, who or what set the TARDIS there for the Doctor to run away yet again. But after him, then we start getting into, like, the Doctor starts remembering his humanity, because he, even in the pre-Hartnell stuff, he had a linkage to the humans. So now he's remembering his humanity, he's remembering his, his want for adventure and to explore. And Patrick Troughton is like the first, like, he starts losing the Time Lord ego boost and starts like leaning into, like, he's still very egotistical because he's the smartest person on the planet, but he starts like, I can be nicer to people. John Pertwee's Doctor ended up just kind of showing mostly, like, he was willing to help more, like, he's stuck, so he can't do too much about not doing nothing, but it shows the John Pertwee's Doctor is the setup to him helping as much as he can the human race, where the first two kind of went around just exploring other planets and still willing to help, but, they'd rather explore than be on Earth. John Pertwee's Doctor gets stuck on Earth and starts to fall in love with it. Tom Baker's Doctor is basically the one that shows both an alien and the humane morals. Like, this is where the Doctor's morals gets put to the test almost constantly. And it shows who the Doctor is in his core. Tom Baker's is, I'm not my favorite Doctor, but he's up there because he shows just who the Doctor should be. If someone's gonna go into a role, they should watch Tom Baker's or David Tennant's, because that's kind of who they should be. Matt Smith is up there, I'd say top 3, but him and Peter Capaldi are in a, David Tennant's the same thing. He's got like scars, and he's shown to be affected by those scars. But Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, they show ignorance to the scars, and they kind of revert back to some previous personality changes. But anyway, Tom Baker being the core of the Doctor, and just like at this point, this is who the Doctor wants to be going forward. Peter Davison is trying to live up to those new expectations he set for himself, but he keeps running into trouble. Him trying to do as best as he can, still running to boundaries, and that's kind of what his regeneration shows, that even though he is doing his best to be the best person he can be, there's still people like the Master who just want him to fail, want him to suffer. So Colin Baker is the kind of like the 14th Doctor. David Tennant is the collapse of the character. This is the first we show of, like, after Logopolis and all that, he's kind of snippy. He's very snippy. He's like, I've done this for so long, people are still being retarded and ignorant, and they're not wanting to be willing to listen and understand that I'm trying to help, and if anyone wants to make it a problem, I will fight them on it. And that's kind of what Colin Baker's Doctor kind of shows, that now the Doctor's willing to push back against the aggression. Where Sylvester McCoy, he's the Doctor of, like, age. He knows he can't be as aggressive as Colin Baker, but yet he can't be as nice as the Tom Baker and Peter Davison's. So he's like a gray area. Paul McGann is the one that tries to run away from all the problems. Like, there's all these things like the Master dying, there's a Time War. He's kind of the person who wants to play hero but avoid the war, because he doesn't want to have suffering of self by entering that war, and he avoids to be a part of it. But John Hurt is kind of my actions, I must act because I am this figure, but I do not go by the figure's name just because that figure is known as hope and like positivity and hope. So it's just putting someone who's willing to kill and destroy just to make sure some kind of society lasts after the war is kind of just existent in his personality at the time. Christopher Eccleston was kind of just like I need to get back into that role of, yes, I have war PTSD now, and it's very apparent that all this stuff is boiling up and starting to eat me from the inside out. I can't let that do anything because I slow down now, people get hurt, and I need to keep going. And he's in a healing cycle, but he doesn't get enough chance and gets turned into David Tennant, which, because he's in the middle of confusion with his feelings about Rose, he now has to make up for being the dashing man that someone like Rose sees. He's also trying to be the heroic figure that, everyone known him through history and time now knows him, and space and time. So he's trying to make up for the heroic, the dashing man, but yet he's still affected by the grief of the war and other stuff. And he's the one that, he's trying to revert back to Colin Baker's era of trying to show aggression to anything that pops up. Elkison did it, where it's just like he's seen a dog and said, "I will freaking burn you out of existence." David Tennant, he tries his best to be helpful as much as he can, but like he's like, "You crossed the line. Now you've done it." Like I think it's the Blood family, the ones that try to take his regenerations and feed him on it, and they would live forever. Um, he's like, you harmed people, you tortured people, you were a terrorist for so long. Now I'm gonna have to do something. So he tries to be the nice person, but his kindness was taken advantage of. And then Matt Smith, him is like, he's also thinking he's gonna die thanks to Metatin happening. So now he's like, okay, I need to make up what this last life is gonna be. So now he's fearing that one day will be his last. He's going around adventuring as much as he can. He's doing whatever he can to help people with what little time he has, because to those that 1,000 or so years that he exists as the 11th is very miniature in a Time Lord's life, because technically he'd be a lot older if his other regenerations lasted as long as they should. He should be living for thousands of years, but each one of those lives get cut short. Like, Hartnell lived out its usefulness. Well, not usefulness. It aged. Patrick Troughton, like, he was only probably a few decades at most. But he gets forced into regeneration. John Pertwee, I think his body would have aged faster than the rest of them because he was set at an older age. But his body should have lasted a little bit longer, but he got radiation poisoning. Tom Baker, very young, dropped from a fall. Peter Davison, same thing, very young, but died to a poison. Colin Baker, same thing. I think it was he hit the console, and the radiation that was getting attacking did so. Sylvester McCoy got shot down. Paul McGann got forced regeneration in a ship crash. John Hurt aged. Let's see. Elkiston, I think he was only that doctor for like 20 years or so. He was very young for a Time Lord. And I think lore-wise, David Tennant is the youngest of the shortest of the time spans, because even though we see so little of Christopher, he's all around time. He's shown in pictures, so he's done some stuff, and it's not recent for him. Like the Time War happened some time ago, so he had some time to heal and make it like it was history. So I believe Christopher Eccleston has lived for a while, but like we learned that it's only been a few years since he's regenerated into David Tennant, and at the end of time, because he was 900 at the beginning of David Tennant, and then he's only 912 or something like that. He's not even hit his thousands. So David Tennant he dies pretty young in his regeneration. He didn't get as much time as he wanted, but like I was saying, he's got an emotional baggage. And then Matt Smith, now he's trying to do what he can, but yet he's trying to make up this life last as long as he can. So, and he does. So 3 out of, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13. Out of 13 faces, only 3 of them age. So 10 of them could have lasted a few years, a few decades. I know probably David Tennant could have went at least 100 more years. So it's like, he could have been in his I think by Peter Capaldi he said he was 2,000. He could have easily probably stretched that to 3,000. or even higher. So if you think about it, that's kind of a crappy thing. But Matt Smith is kind of like I got to do everything I can. I got to have fun as much as I can. Got to spend time with the people that I care about and save as many lives as I can and do whatever I can in this lifespan. And then Peter Capaldi is kind of I have time to burn, but I still in the heroic. If I have to be implemented in it, then I'm sorry for you. Like that's when he starts getting the title is now really important. Like the Rebel Doctors is like I'm the Doctor. I do what I do best. Where the others, it's kind of like I'm a Time Lord. I'm a Gallifreyan. I've done some things. They start getting their events in their head that I've done stuff before. But Peter Capaldi's the one where it's just like throughout history, I am the one who remains. I am the one who makes everyone quiver if I'm on the enemy side. And Jodie Whittaker, I think I'm sad to say that her character is trying to play off another David Tennant, where it's just like I'm gonna play ignorant to everything that's happened. And I think that's the downfall of that particular character era is just if they just let her do what, like, say, who would be a good character? I wouldn't say put her at a Tom Baker or a Peter Davison, but like have a Sylvester McCoy where it's just like you reel back some of that. Like, yes, I can't keep playing as this weapon anymore. I need to settle down, calm down, and just do my classic adventures, spend time with people, but I have some time to burn. So basically, do a little bit of Matt Smith. So mix Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi's runtime. You do as much as you can, but make sure you can extend it. That way you can cherish it. But you can play as the weapon to save people, but I'm not running around saying I'm the weapon and I'm a force of nature. And the 14th one is like the understanding of now that we know that the timeless child stuff happens, now the Doctor's like, I don't know who I am, what was before, I'm also confused about my last 14 lives, I don't know what to do about those, and then here we go, Ncuti, who's basically just like, alright, I fixed it all. At some point in the timeline of the 14th Doctor, I fixed myself. And we probably won't get to see that and understand that, but now we got like split of timelines that will exist. First Doctor's out there, second Doctor's out there, third Doctor's out there, everyone's out there at some point in time, just because there's a timeline where they lived. But anyways, so basically it's just Hartnell's the one who's got a reboot. There was something there, but he doesn't know what, and he is missing something. So getting reintroduced to his old life makes a spark start. Patrick Troughton is where it's just like he starts giving that spark something to start a fire, and then like the fire truly starts with Pertwee, and then it's just like it goes strong on Tom, and then it's just like some dirt gets thrown at it, some sticks might be knocked out from under it, and just the wavering of the strength of the flame throughout the years, and what that represents is what happens throughout the rest of the Doctors. Every single event that's in their history, through the books, through comics, through the show, that is who that Doctor is, and what builds upon this new character. And now there's a whole new, like, who was I before Hartnell? Kind of makes it to where, like, am I playing as a hero that used to be some bad guy because we only seen so little of the rebel doctor where they're in trouble with the Jejune. But anyways, you gotta question what the Timeless Child actually has done with Doctor Who, and it gives us a good reasoning for why we should have the Timeless Child. It gives us another reason to understand the Doctor, and it gives us a reason for Ncuti to go figure out who he was, or who they were. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.